Imagine thinking you found your forever person. You're picking out china patterns, arguing over guest lists, genuinely believing you're building a life together. That was me and Mark, or so I thought. We had the apartment, the shared bills, the inside jokes, the whole 9 yards leading up to the wedding. I trusted him completely. Lately, though, things felt off. Distant. He was always glued to his phone, especially texting this colleague, Sarah. Just work stuff, he'd say. She's my work wife, babe. It's harmless. He'd laugh it off, and stupidly, I tried to brush away that nagging feeling in my pit of my stomach. Work wife. It sounded so casual, so normal, but why did it make my skin crawl? Then, yesterday, his phone buzzed on the coffee table while he was showering. A notification from Sarah popped up. Something about missing his laugh already. My heart just stopped. That wasn't work. Against every moral fiber screaming don't, I did it. I scrolled. And there it was. Months of messages. Flirting, inside, jokes I didn't get, plans to grab coffee, just the two of them, complaints about me. Phrases like wish you were here instead and can't wait for tomorrow. It wasn't physical proof, not yet, but it was an emotional affair laid bare. The betrayal hit like a physical blow. The man planning a future with me was sharing his present, his intimacy, with someone else under the flimsy guise of work wife. The rage was white-hot, blinding. All those doubts, the dismissed feelings, the trust shattered into a million pieces. I didn't think I'd just moved. I grabbed every box, every stupid golf club, every hoodie he left at my place, every single reminder of his lies. I didn't pack neatly. I just dumped it. All of it, out on the front lawn. Like the garbage it felt like. The neighbors probably saw I didn't care. Let them see the mess he made. Now, hours later, the adrenaline's crashed. The lawn looks like a yard sale from hell. My hands are shaking and my phone just lit up. It's him. He's on his way home. He doesn't know the texts are exposed. He doesn't know his stuff is currently weathering the elements on my grass. And honestly, right now, staring at that lawn, I have absolutely no idea what happens when he pulls into the driveway. AITA for burning it all down. Key elements addressed. Hook starts with relatable pre-wedding hopes contrasted with the gut-punch discovery. Tone raw, emotional, suspenseful, regretful after the initial rage. Characters establishes the narrator, fiancé Mark, and the work wife Sarah. Keywords: work wife, emotional affair, texts, betrayal, trust, unstumped belongings, lawn AITA, revenge implied by action, not glorified. Cliffhanger ends with the fiancé on his way, unaware, creating immediate tension. For the next part, simple and natural, uses conversational language, whole 9 yards. Skin crawl, stupidly, butt punch, yard sale from hell. Human-centric, focuses entirely on the narrator's feelings, thoughts and impulsive action driven by pain. YouTube safe, avoids explicit details of messages. Doesn't endorse destruction of property, frames it as a regrettable heat-of-the-moment act. Focuses on the emotional fallout and consequences. Thinking back, the signs were there. I just didn't want to see them. Mark and I met 5 years ago at a friend's barbecue. It felt easy, real. We built a life, found this apartment together, adopted a grumpy cat named Gus, talked about kids someday. He was my best friend, or so I thought. Sarah entered the picture about a year ago when he switched teams at his tech job. At first it was just casual mentions. Sarah helped me debug that code nightmare. Or Sarah thinks that new sushi place is overrated too. Harmless coworker stuff. Then it became Sarah said this hilarious thing today, or Sarah gets my stress about the Thompson account. Slowly her name started popping up more than mine in his daily stories. The work wife joke started around then. He'd say it with a chuckle, like it was the most normal thing in the world. Don't worry, babe. He'd tease if I looked even slightly uneasy. Sarah's just my work wife. It's not like that. He made me feel silly for questioning it, for feeling that tiny knot of insecurity. He'd call it trust issues, gently chiding me. So I shoved the doubts down, told myself I was being paranoid, jealous, crazy. I trusted him. I trusted us, but the distance grew. He'd be texting constantly. During our movie nights, a small smile playing on his lips. Weekend plans got cancelled last minute because of urgent work calls that always seemed to involve Sarah needing his help. He started talking about her opinions on things that had nothing to do with work, books, movies, even politics. That bought a jacket because Sarah said the color suited him. That one stung. I remember asking, trying to keep my voice light, since when do you take fashion advice from colleagues? He just shrugged it off. She's got good taste, that's all. Looking at the mess on the lawn now, illuminated by his headlights, it felt like a physical manifestation of all those ignored red flags, all the tiny betrayals piling up. The emotional affair was clear as day in those texts. The intimacy, the shared secrets, the way he confided in her about our arguments, painting me as unreasonable. That work wife label wasn't a joke. It was a shield, a way to hide an inappropriate relationship right under my nose while making me feel guilty for noticing. The humiliation burned almost as hot as the rage had. He made a fool out of me. The car door creaked open. A shadow unfolded itself. He stepped out, silhouetted against the headlights. staring at the mountain of his belongings scattered across the damp grass. I saw him freeze, one hand still on the car door. He slowly turned his head, looking towards our apartment window. I ducked back, pressing myself against the wall, my breath coming in shallow gasps. The silence stretched, taut and unbearable. What would he do? Yell, cry, deny everything, walk away? I could hear the faint crunch of his footsteps on the gravel path now, getting closer to the front door, closer to confronting the disaster zone I'd created, and the truth I'd uncovered. My hand hovered over the deadbolt. Do I open it? Do I face him? The pounding in my ears was so loud I could barely think. Emma, his voice usually warm, was flat, controlled. That scared me more than yelling ever could open the door. We need to talk about ... This like his entire life wasn't scattered across my parents' meticulously landscaped lawn for the whole cul-de-sac to see. Mrs. Henderson's porch light flicked on across the street. Perfect. My mind raced back. Sarah wasn't just a colleague. She was new, bubbly, always seemed to need Mark's expertise. He ate it up. The attention, the validation. I remember one night, maybe 6 months ago, we were supposed to have date night. He cancelled last minute, blaming a server crash at work. Sarah's panicking. She doesn't know the system like I do. Gotta bail her out. He sounded almost proud. I offered to bring him dinner at the office. He shut that down fast. Nah, it'll be chaos. Order in something nice for yourself. Later, I saw a tagged photo on Instagram from Sarah's story, blurry, but clearly them at that trendy bar near the office, heads close together, laughing. When I asked, he brushed it off. We finally fixed it. Grabbed a quick drink to celebrate. Forgot to text. Sorry, babe. The work wife thing wasn't just a joke. It was a license. A license for late nights, whispered phone calls he took in the other room, inside jokes I wasn't part of. He shared frustrations about me with her. In those texts, he called me needy for wanting a single weekend without him glued to his phone. He complained I didn't understand his work stress like Sarah did. The betrayal wasn't just the flirting. It was the intimacy he gave her, the secrets he shared, the way he let her become his primary confidant while pushing me away and blaming me for feeling insecure. He gaslit me plain and simple, made me doubt my own reality while he built a secret one with her. Another knock, firmer this time. Emma, I know you're in there. I can see the light. His voice lost some of its icy control, edged with impatience. This is insane. My laptop is out here. My passport. What the hell were you thinking? What was I thinking? I was thinking about the text where he told Sarah my wedding dress made me look frumpy. I was thinking about him wishing he was sharing a hotel bed with her during that conference last month. I was thinking about 5 years of love and trust dissolving into pixelated lies on his phone screen. I heard a rustle outside. Was he trying to gather his things? Was he taking a picture? My panic surged. What if he called the cops? Would they arrest me? But then, I had the texts. Screenshots safely sent to my email, my cloud, even my best friend Jen. Proof of the emotional affair, the disrespect, the betrayal. It was my only shield. Fine. His voice came again, closer now. Right. Against the door, I flinched. If you won't open up, I'm calling the landlord. Or maybe the police. This is destruction of property, Emma. You can't just throw my life on the lawn. The threat hung in the air, cold and real. My hand trembled near the deadbolt. The urge to fling it open and scream every hurtful truth in his face warred with the paralyzing fear of his reaction, of the legal mess, of facing the wreckage I'd created and the shattered man I thought I knew standing on the other side. Gus, our cat, chose that moment to start scratching frantically at the bedroom door. Trapped and scared, mirroring the frantic clawing feeling inside my own chest. Outside, Mark's phone suddenly lit up, casting a blue glow under the door. A notification from her. The world narrowed to the thin strip of light under the door, the frantic scratching behind me in the suffocating silence waiting for his next move. The blue glow under the door vanished as Mark snatched up his phone. My breath hitched. Is he answering her right now while standing in the wreckage of our life? The thought sent a fresh wave of nausea crashing over me. Gus's frantic scratching intensified, a desperate counterpoint to the pounding in my head. Hello? Mark's voice, still outside, was suddenly clipped, professional. Too professional, not the voice of a man whose entire wardrobe was currently absorbing dew. Sarah, yeah, no, it's not a good time. A pause. My nails dug into my palms. Tell her, Mark. Tell your work wife why it's not a good time. Something came up at home. Personal stuff. Yeah, Emma single quotes s ... Fine, just stressed about wedding stuff. Liar. The casual lie. Dismissing me as just a stressed bride while protecting her from the chaos he caused, ignited the embers of my rage all over again. He was still hiding it. Still protecting them. Look. I gotta go, he said, his voice dropping lower, but I could still hear the strained impatience. I'll call you tomorrow. Okay, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. As if Sarah's concern mattered more than the nuclear bomb I detonated on our front lawn. The hypocrisy was staggering. He ended the call, and the silence that followed was heavier. Charged with a new kind of fury, the next knock wasn't a knock. It was a fist hitting the door, hard enough to make the frame rattle. Gus yelled in terror inside the bedroom. "Emma, open this door right now," Mark roared, all pretense of control gone. "You have exactly 10 seconds before I call the police. This is insane. My grandfather's watch is out here. Do you have any idea what you've done? 10 seconds. The finality of it squeezed my chest. The threat felt terrifyingly real now. Images flashed, handcuffs, a mugshot, explaining this mess to a board officer. Would they even care about the work-wife texts? Would they see me as the betrayed fiancé or just the crazy woman who trashed his stuff? But beneath the fear, a steely defiance rose. He did this, he lied, he shared his heart with someone else behind the smokescreen of a joke. He made me feel crazy for seeing the truth. Those screenshots were my lifeline. My proof that this wasn't just about scattered belongings. It was about scattered trust, scattered promises, a scattered future. He brought the chaos. I just relocated it. 5 seconds, Emma. His voice was raw, ragged. I could hear him pacing on the porch, gravel crunching angrily under his shoes. Mrs. Henderson's silhouette was clearly visible in her window now, a silent, judgmental audience. The whole neighborhood was probably watching Mark's meltdown. My hand hovered over the deadbolt. Sweat slicked my palm. If I opened it, what then? A screaming match. Tears. Would he try to spin it? Gaslight me again? Tell me I misinterpreted everything? Would he storm in and grab Gus? Or would he see the devastation in my eyes and finally admit what he'd done? Did I even want that admission now? Or was it too late? Time's up, he bellowed. I heard the distinct, sharp clicks of him dialing a number on his phone. My own phone, clutched in my other hand, felt like a live grenade. I had the proof. I had Jen on speed dial. I had the impulse to fling the door open and scream the truth for Mrs. Henderson and the entire world to hear. But I also had the crushing weight of potential consequences, the terrifying unknown of his reaction, and the shattered pieces of a love I thought was unbreakable, lying on the damp grass between us. The dial tone stopped. He'd connected. His voice, suddenly forced into calm, cut through the night. "Yes, hello police. I need to report a situation. My fiancé has illegally disposed of all my personal property." He started giving the address. My thumb hovered over the button to unlock the door. Do I face the storm? Do I let the police come and explain my side? Show them the evidence of the emotional affair, the betrayal behind the work-wife facade? Or do I stay hidden, letting him control the narrative? One last time. The scratching from the bedroom stopped. Even Gus was holding his breath, waiting for the explosion. I yanked the door open just as he turned, phone still pressed to his ear. His eyes, wide with shock and fury, locked onto mine. "She's here now, officer," he said quickly, his gaze never leaving my face, a flicker of triumph in them. "She just opened the door. There's property damage. Theft." "It wasn't theft," I burst out, my voice shaking but loud, cutting him off. "It's his stuff. I just relocated it. Because of her, because of Sarah, his work-wife." I spat the label like poison. Mark flinched, his jaw tightening. "This has nothing to do with Sarah." He snapped into the phone, then back to me. "You're hysterical. You're making things up because you're jealous and unstable." The old doubt tried to creep in, the gaslighting reflex he'd conditioned in me. But the screenshots burned in my mind. "Liar," I shouted, tears finally spilling over. "I saw the texts, Mark, months of them. The flirting, the secrets, the way you complained about me to her, how you wished you were with her at that conference. Work-wife. It was an emotional affair, and you know it." His face paled slightly. The mask slipped, revealing a flash of panic beneath the anger. He lowered the phone slightly. You went through my phone," he whispered, horrified, as if that was the ultimate betrayal. Before I could retort, a movement beyond Mark's shoulder caught my eye. Headlights swept across the driveway again, illuminating the chaotic pile of his life on the lawn. A small, familiar silver car, Sarah's car, pulled in right behind Mark's. It stopped abruptly, the engine cutting off. Mark froze, slowly turning his head. His eyes widened in pure, unadulterated shock. "Sarah." He breathed into the phone, forgetting the dispatcher entirely. "What are you doing here?" The car door opened. Sarah stepped out, looking bewildered and concerned, her eyes darting from the mountain of Mark's belongings under the porch light, to Mark standing rigidly with his phone, to me framed in the doorway, tear-streaked and trembling. She looked genuinely confused, not guilty. "Mark," she called out, her voice hesitant, taking a tentative step forward. "I got your text. You said it was an emergency, that Emma was having some kind of breakdown and you needed help calming her down. What? What is all this?" The world tilted. My blood ran cold. He texted her after calling her. He told her I was having a breakdown, while simultaneously threatening me with the police. The layers of his deception, the sheer calculated cruelty of it, slammed into me with physical force. He wasn't just protecting his affair, he was actively recruiting her to paint me as the villain, the crazy, unstable fiancé. He was building his defense right there on my doorstep, using the work-wife as a character witness against me. Mark stared at Sarah, then back at me, his face a mask of dawning horror as he realized his carefully constructed lies were colliding violently in real time. The phone was still clutched in his hand, the faint voice of the dispatcher saying, "Sir, are you still there?" Sarah took another step, her eyes wide with growing alarm as she looked from the scattered belongings to Mark's frozen panic. To my shattered expression, the police were likely minutes away. The other woman was now an unwitting pawn, standing bewildered in the wreckage. And Mark looked utterly trapped, caught between the fiancé he betrayed, the colleague he'd lied to about me, and the official authorities he'd just summoned. The air crackled with unbearable tension. A standoff with three shattered perspectives, the truth bleeding out onto the damp grass, and the distant wail of sirens finally cutting through the heavy night air, growing louder. Gus let out a low, distressed yowl from inside the house, the only sound besides the approaching sirens and the frantic beating of my own heart. What happened next was anyone's guess. "All right," the first officer said, voice calm but firm, stepping towards Mark, who still clutched his phone. "We got a call about property being disposed of illegally. What's going on here?" Mark pointed a shaking finger at me. "She did this, my fiancé. She threw all my things out on the lawn. My laptop, my clothes, my grandfather's watch, it's all here. She's unstable." His voice cracked, trying to regain the narrative he'd spun for Sarah and the police before I could speak. Sarah took a hesitant step forward. Her face had shifted from confusion to dawning horror as she looked at Mark, then at me. "Mark," she interrupted, her voice surprisingly steady but laced with disgust. "You texted me saying Emma was having a breakdown and needed help, but this ... She gestured wildly at the lawn. "This looks like you did something awful. What texts was she talking about?" Mark paled further, opening and closing his mouth like a fish out of water. The officer turned his attention to me. "Ma'am, your side." This was it. My hands were shaking, but the terrified paralysis was gone, replaced by a cold, clear fury. "He had an emotional affair," I stated, meeting the officer's eyes directly. My voice didn't waver. With her, I nodded towards Sarah. "For months, under the guise of a work wife. I found a text today. Flirting secrets, him complaining about me to her, wishing he was with her." I pulled out my own phone, the screenshots ready. "I didn't steal anything. That's his property. I removed it from my apartment after discovering the betrayal. He's the one who's been lying. To me, to her." I glanced at Sarah, whose face was now ashen. "And now, to you." The officer took my phone, scrolling silently. Mark made a strangled noise. "She invaded my privacy. Those texts are out of context." But Sarah wasn't buying it anymore. She walked right up to the officer, looking over his shoulder at the screen. Her eyes scanned the messages, the inside jokes, the complaints about me, the late-night confidences. I saw the exact moment recognition and revulsion hit her. Her hand flew to her mouth. "Oh my God," she whispered, backing away from Mark as if he were contagious. "You told me she was paranoid, that she didn't understand our friendship. You made me feel sorry for you. This is disgusting. Mark, you used me. The betrayal wasn't just mine anymore. He'd manipulated Sarah too, playing us both." The officers exchanged a look. The one holding my phone handed it back. "Ma'am, while throwing belongings outside isn't technically theft, it could be considered illegal dumping or property damage depending on the items and local ordinances. However," he turned to Mark, his tone hardening, ... "filing a potentially false report and attempting to mislead us about the situation is a serious matter, sir, and causing this kind of domestic disturbance ... Mark looked utterly shattered. The lies had collapsed entirely, exposed in front of the police and the woman he'd been deceiving me with. I just wanted her to calm down," he stammered weakly, gesturing vaguely at me. I panicked. The second officer spoke, addressing both of us. "Right now, this appears to be a civil domestic dispute. We strongly suggest you both separate for the night to cool down. Sir, you'll need to remove your belongings from the premises. Ma'am, you need to allow him reasonable access to collect his property. Any further disputes or damage, we will be involved. Understand?" Relief, ward with exhaustion, no handcuffs, no arrest, just the cold reality of the mess he'd made. Mark nodded mutely, unable to meet anyone's eyes. Sarah had already turned and was walking swiftly back to her car, slamming the door and peeling out of the driveway without a backward glance. The officers stayed just long enough to ensure Mark started, gathering his rain-dampened things under their watchful eyes. As they finally drove away, leaving only the buzzing porch light, Mark stood alone amidst the scattered remnants of his life. He finally looked at me, his expression a mixture of shame, anger, and utter defeat. "Emma ... He started, his voice thick. I didn't let him finish. The fight was gone, replaced by a bone-deep weariness and a profound sense of emptiness where love used to be. "Just get your things, Mark," I said, my voice flat, devoid of the rage or the tears. "Get everything and then get out." I stepped back inside, my hand closing around the cool metal of the door handle. "By the wedding ... Gus ... He choked out, a desperate plea creeping in. The mention of our cat, our shared life, almost broke me. Almost, but the image of those texts, of him calling Sarah while threatening me with police, solidified my resolve. The final twist wasn't his plea for forgiveness, but what he pleaded for. Gus was my cat before I met you, I stated quietly. The truth, a simple, devastating weapon. He stays. The wedding is off. There's nothing left to discuss. I saw the last flicker of hope die in his eyes. He looked broken, truly broken, but the sympathy I might have felt once was buried under mountains of betrayal. I closed the door softly, engaging the deadbolt with a final, decisive click. The sound echoed. In the sudden quiet of the apartment, outside, I heard a choked sob, then the sound of him roughly shoving something into a box. Inside, Gus finally emerged from the bedroom, cautiously approaching and rubbing against my leg. I sank to the floor, leaning against the door, listening to the muffled sounds of Mark packing up the shattered pieces of his choices on the other side. The storm had passed. The silence that followed was heavy, painful, but it was mine. Alone, but finally free of the lies. The work-wife facade was over. The only thing left on the lawn was the truth. Morning came, gray and damp. The lawn was a mess. Muddy tracks, flattened grass, a few forgotten socks, and a lone charger cord left behind like artifacts of a life hastily abandoned. Seeing it in the daylight, without the adrenaline or the police lights, felt surreal. The sheer destructive absurdity of it hit me. I threw his life on the lawn. It wasn't my proudest moment, fueled by white-hot betrayal. But seeing the physical evidence of his absence, it also felt necessary. A brutal line drawn. The practical pieces started falling into place, like picking up shards. I texted Jen, my best friend, the one holding my screenshot lifeline. He's gone. Police came. Sarah showed up. It's over. Her reply was instant. On my way, bringing coffee and trash bags for the lawn. Bless her. I called the wedding venue, my voice surprisingly steady as I counseled. Irreconcilable differences, I said. The phrase tasting like ash, the florist, the caterer. Each call chipped away at the future we'd planned, leaving raw relief underneath the sadness. A notification popped up. An email from Sarah. My breath hitched. Opening it felt like poking a bruise. Emma, it began. I am so sorry. Truly, Mark manipulated me completely. He painted you as jealous and unstable, said you hated me for no reason, that he needed support because you were pushing him away. I believed him. I thought I was just being a supportive friend, a work-wife joke that meant nothing. Seeing those texts yesterday, seeing how he lied to both of us, used my trust to betray yours, I feel sick and complicit. I ended all contact with him immediately. I just wanted you to know I wasn't knowingly part of the affair. I'm resigning. I can't work near him. I'm so sorry for the pain he caused and for my part in believing his lies. Sarah, her words landed softly. Not forgiveness, not really, but clarity. Another victim of Mark's gaslighting and the toxic work-wife charade he'd used as a shield. He hadn't just betrayed me, he'd poisoned his workplace to. Jen arrived, armed with coffee and a fierce hug. We didn't talk much at first. We just started cleaning up the muddy lawn, bagging the forgotten remnants of Mark's life. Each discarded sock, each piece of trash felt like reclaiming my space, my peace. The betrayal still ached, a deep bruise in my heart. Trust felt like a shattered vase, impossible to fully piece back together. But sitting on the porch steps later, Gus purring in my lap, watching Jen wrestle a stubborn box into her car, a different feeling crept in. Not happiness, not yet, but quiet ownership. The lies were gone. The work-wife facade was exposed and dismantled. The red flags I'd ignored screamed their lessons learned. The path ahead was unknown, scary even, but it was mine. I'd survived the emotional affair, the gaslighting, the nuclear fallout on my front lawn, and I was still here, bruised but breathing, free. Sometimes the most satisfying ending isn't a happy one, but the simple, hard-won piece of knowing the truth and finally walking away.